Welcome to everyone who's filtering in. Thank you for being here. This is Molly, Best Rector speaking. I am the director of Open Mouth Literary Center. We're excited to host you tonight. Just a quick image description of me. I am a white woman with medium brown hair pulled back in a bun, and I'm wearing some large bronze glasses and a sweater with cats on it that look very disgruntled. My sister brought this to me from the Czech Republic. I don't know why this was the thing she thought I needed, but it was. Anyway, and behind me, it's just a pretty bland white wall and a window there on my right. So enough about what I'm wearing and where I am. I am going to just tell you a little bit about Open Mouth and read you our access statement. You can follow along with this at the link that Gwen has posted. If you like, we also have our ASL interpreter, Wes, who should be pinned here and has interpreter in his name. And if you want to follow along with a transcript, there should be captions at the bottom of your screen. You just click CC live transcript and it should pull up subtitles for you. So we're Open Mouth Literary Center, a nonprofit literary organization based in Fayetteville, Arkansas. We host a monthly poetry reading and workshop with our visiting writers, as well as an annual retreat and festival, a residency for local writers, and extended classes. Our goal is to bring local poets and poetry lovers in contact with nationally touring poets to create greater community through writing. At each of our readings, we have an opening round of 10 or so community readers who read a single poem each in rapid succession, either their own poems or a poem by someone else that they love. So slots for this evening are full, but we're always excited to have new opening readers. So let us know if you'd like to read at a future event. We'll post a form in the chat that you can fill out if you'd like to be on our list for that. You can also get information about our future events on our website, where you can sign up for our newsletter. And we also post about our events on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We also pay all of our featured readers, and we're taking steps to increase accessibility by permanently continuing to post reading and workshop content online at our Patreon account, and by providing access copies and ASL interpretation at workshops and readings. So you can read more about what we're doing to increase the accessibility of the literary landscape on our website. And you can also support this work by signing up to give regularly through our Patreon, by donating at the link on our website, and of course, by continuing to come to our events. All the donations we got for this reading are going not only to support these efforts, but right now we're specifically focused on raising funds for our collaboration with Decarcerate, which is an anti-prison organization based in Little Rock. And we have a fellowship mentorship in collaboration with them for a poet or two poets actually, who's currently incarcerated. And we posted information about that in the chat as well. And then I'm just going to read you really quickly our access statement, so you can learn a little bit more about that. And then I will turn it over and we can just listen to poems. So we've been working to make our programs more accessible, both for this online format. And by the way, this is officially 2 years of online programming for us. We canceled our March 2020 event. So that was the first time we did not have an in-person event. Anyway, we're working to make our programs more accessible, both for this online format and when we're able to have in-person readings and workshops again. We're taking the step of highlighting access features on Zoom, providing an ASL interpreter for our monthly readings and workshops, as well as collecting and offering visual aid materials. We've also completed a course with an accessibility consultant to better understand and apply the principles of universal design. And we're really excited about the accessibility that online events provide. Because of this format, we're able to reach people who might not otherwise be able to make our events because of everything from distance to immune issues to physical access challenges. So even when we return to an in-person format, we're going to follow guidelines put forth by immunocompromised and high-risk people to ensure events are as safe as possible. And we now plan to make sure all of our future in-person readings and workshops are in a hybrid format, simultaneously cast online. Workshops will be made available on our Patreon for a small fee, and readings will be on Patreon for 1 month and thereafter will be available on YouTube. So here's what you can do to help us ensure that this space remains accessible. First, I know that everyone is doing this, but mute your microphone when you're not speaking to help cut down on distractions and background noise. Be aware if you're taking up a lot of space and try to make room for others. Use the raise hand feature or post in the chat if you want to say something. We also wanted to point out that you can use the slow down backward arrow buttons in the Zoom reactions if things are moving too fast. So if you need someone to speak more slowly, you can click that. It's a little gray circle with 2 arrows pointing backwards, and we will try to slow down. Be aware that people may have different levels of comfort speaking and interacting in the space, and allow everyone to participate on their own terms. And if you feel comfortable, share your pronouns by editing your name to include them. If you don't know how to do that, you can hover either over your name in the participant list or over your own picture. And there should be options that pop up, and you can go down and click rename at the bottom of that list. Please give a content warning if what you're about to share might cause someone else discomfort. And remember that this is your space to use respectfully as you need. So you're free to turn off your camera, use the chat function, or make any requests as you need. You can reach out to me or to Gwen, who has open mouth in their name, or to CD. Any of us on the team are happy to answer your questions. And then finally, look for links to access copies in the chat. And then we'll ask you also at the end to fill out a feedback form about these services. If you're comfortable doing that, we'd really love to hear what you think. So without further ado, thank you so much for being here. And I'm going to turn it over to CD to introduce poets.
Hello, my name is CD. Image description. Did I freeze? Okay, cool. Please keep getting unstable internet. My name is CD. Image description. I am a white person with curly brown blonde hair. I have clear rimmed glasses. I'm wearing a gray sweater, and behind me is a monstera plant. So we're going to get started with our opening readers. Access copies of these poems can be found in the chat. And the first reader we have for tonight is Praise Osawaru.
Thanks, CD. Hi everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Praise Osawaru, and I'm a poet from Nigeria. So, I should just go ahead reading my poem. All right. My poem is titled Omoyimi, and it has an epigraph from Vision, this popular line, "What is grief, if not love persevering?" It goes thus. In a village, a woman on a boat tosses a net into a lake and hopes to fish her drowned kids from its yawning mouth. The dark garment in the sky is without sparkles. A halved moon hovers, and nothing but owl hid the silence. In Bini, she says, "Take back this grief and return the music of my womb." Yet the sea in her heart doesn't forsake her body. She swears on her breast to reclaim her treasures gulped by the eternity of water. What good is a home crushed by gloom when there are no songs to keep the light alive? When all the air carries our running footsteps and laughter of one's loss stuck in its memory. Day after day, she throws her hands in form of a net. Day after day, she saddles herself to the middle of the lake and throws in her hands in the form of a net. Someone somewhere stares at the gravestone, salt water from their eyes marking their face, and wonders, why does everything that begins with love ends with grief? Why is the body a metaphor for a glass, always filled with something? For weeks, the sun has deserted the village morning sky. Perhaps she too is held by some kind of heaviness, unable to take flight. Isn't that what awaits us all? Fated to be the winged bird that falls like rain. In the eyes of the villagers, the woman is attempting to pull a song that has vanished into the dark back into her mouth. And who does that, if not someone who dreams of awakening to a sky full of songbirds? That's my point. Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much for that. The descriptions in this are wonderful. I love the line, like, treasures told by a serenity of water. Just all the words in that, the sounds of all the words in that are really lovely. Thank you for sharing this poem. Our next reader is going to be Sarah Partridge.
Awesome, thank you, CD. All right, so I'm gonna be reading a poem called High Bun for Grandmother. Can everybody hear me okay? All right, it has an epigraph. How did the fig tree wither so quickly? Matthew 21:10. Every Mother's Day, we would go to Lowe's and look for your gift. It was always either a statue of a frog or lantana. I like frogs too, although I don't think I would ever fill my yard with their statues. But that's what I always loved about you. Some kind of unashamedness that I could only stare at in awe. Like the day I found that you had hung a plate with a tiny Buddha over the china cabinet. You had gone to church every Sunday in the same small Arkansas town, surrounded by cotton and trains and the levee, and I was sure that if you knew who Buddha was, you would not hang him in your house. But there was Buddha in the living room with the lacy curtains, oak paneling, stale air blowing from a grate in the carpet, the smell of dust. The dolls and crocheted blankets, and the picture of a little baby girl padded in quilted jackets wandering through the snow. And I think all the time, if I could go back, if I could walk with you through the hallway lined with pictures of your children and feel the house shake with every step, you passing me a cup scratched full of bitter coffee that you washed by hand and dried on top of the microwave, peeking at me through dress shirts hanging from the door frame while I sleep on a stiff couch full of cat hair and static and the sound of cars driving slowly past. I want to hide in your storm cellar, sitting on milk cartons when the weather radio calls for tornadoes. To open the freezer and find the months and years you wrote on Ziploc bags full of pecans that Papa picked and shelled. To run my hand through your lilies and snow on the mountain, and always lantana. I want another Sunday afternoon lying in the room next to you, never touching but always warm. I thought I could never forgive myself for letting you live for so long, lonely and unappreciated, like a ghost or a woman. I thought I could never let it go. What I realized later is that you already had. Longing for blossoms, sunset globes its tired mouth, full of lantana.
Thank you so much for that poem. All the details in all of this are just so lovely and so tender of how the space is described, the blankets, the dolls, the microwave, the cups on it, all of it's just so beautiful and vivid. Thank you. Our next reader is going to be Brandon Thurman.
All right. The poem I'm going to read is called New Moon Ceremony. What the hell is the big deal about the moon? The poets won't shut up about it. Even my husband has started stepping out into the dark on the new moon with a bottle of red wine and one of the prayer books he bought off Amazon. I really don't get it. New moon always sounded so hopeful to me, but when I go out with him, the sky is black. I mean black. And the prayers sound the same whether he reads from the little pagan paperback or his hefty Jewish tome. I suppose that should make me feel good, one with all humanity or some such, but all I wanted at that exact moment was to go back inside. I mean, this is also human, right? To try to ignore the celestial body that's up there throwing around its gravitational weight like some kind of god. In Hawaii, with my wife, I know, what did I just say about ignoring bodies, gravitational pulls? She was bleeding again like she did, Every month we failed in our duty to be fruitful and multiply. Down on the beach, we tried not to notice how the horizon never seemed to end. What freaks me out is how the wave that cracked my body against that ocean floor wasn't even that big. It was one of those moments where your face is shoved into the fact that you could just die, easy peasy. In the residential unit where I worked in those days, the kids really did go crazy on the full moon, though I tried to write this off as superstition or confirmation bias. It was like they had moon phase calendars under their mattresses. This one kid came at me with a literal metal rod he'd wrenched off his bed frame. After the kids finally twitched off to sleep, someone would always quip how it must have been a bloodbath at the local ER. While we wrote up our reports, Metal Rod Kid was only feet away, shaking through sleep under his Virgin Mother blanket that stunk of night terror piss. I confess, on the drive home, I didn't look up into the sky once. Back in the apartment, I navigated to the bedroom without flipping on a single light. I slipped quietly into bed beside my snoring wife. I still prayed back then, so I probably did. It would be dishonest of me to describe here at the end of this poem how the moon was shining outside our window while I lay in the dark, counting shadows. I'm not kidding. I really didn't look. Thank you.
There's just such wonderful like expressions and uses of tone here that like I can't go over the line, like the fact that you could just die easy peasy. It's just so much is happening in that. The way that this poem starts somewhere and completely just takes us to this wonderful and interesting scene is really masterful. Thank you for reading this one. Our next reader is going to be Shalini Rana.
Thank you, CD. Can you all hear me? Okay. Okay, great. So this poem, just as a note, it references a couple of lines from Mary Oliver's poem, Wild Geese. It's called Spring 2020. You take walks that don't save you, earbuds and ears, looping the circuit around a smoothie green pond. Geese storm the path and shower their poop, seeds meant to sprout in asphalt. These days, they explore like humans bobbing out farther from shore. Is it called exploring if it was always their home? Meanwhile, the world limps on. You pace farther into the corners of your four walls, risk becoming the paint. Listen to audiobooks, grip the counter for squats, write haikus on the minutia of sauce, oranges, and rain. Like a distressed wanderer, you explore your cage. In your head, a voice. You do not have to be good. And this spring, ghosts make their debut. The white haze man who trudges eye shot from your doorbell camera. The poems that loose themselves from you like ectoplasm. All those who refuse rest, dancing around the spine of your backyard redbud. Each year, pink buds bloom, a sapling grown and growing. See how spring still lives.
Your verbs are so wonderful in this, like the white haze man who trudges, looping, loose. Just the sounds of all of those is just so evocative. And then the images that they're part of, like the ectoplasm at the end. That's, I want to write a poem with ectoplasm in it. I love that. Thank you. Our next reader is going to be Natalie E. Ilham.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. I would be remiss if I didn't say that this is a poem about disability. It's autobiographical, and Open Mouth does the best job in the country with accessibility and access statements. And I cannot laud you enough for the work that you do. And I wish you make it look so easy. And I know that it's not, but I wish that everyone would take it as seriously and as ethically and compassionately as you do. I wish that could be my whole poem, but this poem is not directed at you. It's called No, We Don't Have. It's only recently that I don't have to speak to the manager myself. Certain friends will take on the ask for me and break the news with, fuck them, we'll just go somewhere else. And that worked for about 20 years. But now their solidarity is the sugar rush before the cavity. It's the tight hug before they move across country and promise not to lose touch. We'll just go somewhere else. Some websites will answer my frequently asked questions and save us all the effort. Save me from standing room only. Save me from the second floor bathroom. Save you from, I'm sorry, ma'am, it's an older building. We don't have an elevator, but our staff are more than willing to accommodate you in any way we can. Like, we can lift you up. I can hear you sweat through the phone. Maybe you're wearing skinny jeans. Maybe you are tailored and pressed, the classic kind of manicure. You are exempt from failure per building code, whatever, but I am not exempt from the unyield of a heavy door. 3 summers ago, the metro started catching fire, so I stopped using public transportation. Did you know that the graded catwalk you're supposed to use to find safety isn't wide enough for a wheelchair? No big deal. Find another bar to drink in. Find another venue to perform in. Find an easier body to inhabit. The easiest choice I ever made was my no. No, I am not performing on an accessible stage, but if I have to be here, neither is anybody else. Put the monitors on the floor, burn the bar stools for all I care. You didn't read the fine print, did you? There's a clause in my contract, my only loophole. No one gets their spotlight. I already know what you're thinking. I am more soapbox than human. My bones are the wood slats creaking just before collapse, before I knew this was going to happen. This megaphone mouth, this white noise of staircase and sorry. I thought this world was also mine when they built it. I thought the people who rushed in, who grabbed my waist or arm or ass were helping. They had a plan and I was grateful for it, flattered by their touch. Soon, you'll probably need the things I already own: wheelchair, walker, crutches, canes, orthotics, painkillers, therapy, fatigue, humiliation, injection. You'll be asking about an elevator and practicing your outcry. You'll be holding your bladder. Try this PSA. Assistance is not accessibility. Or say nothing and go somewhere else. That's the building code. That's the blueprint. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much for reading this. I love so much of it. That's probably like the most powerful word smash I've seen at the end with wheelchair, walker, cane, crutch. That's so, yeah. The repetition in the earlier parts before just makes me think about how wonderfully this prose form works for this piece and how much power comes through that. Yeah, thank you so much for reading this. We're so happy that you're here. Our next reader is going to be Edith Rodriguez.
Okay. I am ready, but I'm also still sitting in that poem from the unyield of a heavy door will like be with me for this week. So I'm gonna read my poem, I Feel Most African. This poem may or may not be a response to Claudia Rankine's Citizen, in which she says, I feel most colored when I'm thrown against a sharp white background. This poem may or may not put Africa in my center, may or may not be a declaration of wholeness. I felt most African at recess double dutching, rope snapping in time with my girl's hands, feet thundering a blacktop rhythm. I feel most African in the club, a blood-borne beat knocking, and we swag surfing so in sync. At the family reunion, sliding, twisting, shuffling, perched between my mother's legs, cornrows woven tight against my scalp in an art so ancient, masterpiece so map-like, stewing chicken and okra down, plantains frying, cousins in the next room arguing who was better, Michael or Prince, stomp shouting pew to pew, when the hymns got the house shaking and auntie's whole body praising, porch rocking slow with my grandma. Stories passing over an acre of Carolina air and fried green tomatoes. At my Uncle Tony's fish fries, grandma yelling after kids skirting the curb, and the Creole seasoning done brought the block out. Picketing down City Hall, signs, froze, fists, up, when I ain't turning no cheeks, mouth spilling chants and boycotts and fallen warriors, skin rippling oak in the vanity. Knowing I was Black when the egg dropped. Before I checked the box or they could pull me over, I feel most African when they try me. Knowing who I got behind me, the blades conjured to my tongue in a name, Asantewa, Sankara, Dessalines. I feel most African drowning in Africans when my background isn't white, when I'm not arguing with a colonizer about who is citizen and who ain't. And that's, I feel most African. Thank y'all.
Thank you so much for this poem. I love at the end, the sort of tie back to the epigraph citizen. It's just such a wonderful sort of way of weaving in that reference, but no, it's so vivid. There's so many wonderful verbs. I love the word smashes again, double dutch and bloodborne. There's just so much wonderful, wonderful language here. Thank you for sharing this. Our next poet is going to be Gwen Moroner, who is reading a poem by Divya Victor. Sorry.
Hello. Quick image description of me. I'm a white person with shoulder length light brown hair, and I'm wearing a plaid flannel, and my face is all red because I'm nervous about speaking in front of you, but I'm excited to read this poem. And behind me there's a bookcase, and I'm going to read Settlement from this book, Curb by Divya Victor. Settlement. Settlers over the land, over the sea, over the tile, over the stone floors. Settlers over the firs, over the pine wood planks of the house settled, the houses settled into the ground, the houses so buried, settling, pulling life like splinters from the toboggans and caravans, pulling cargo, settled out of suitcases, settled down. We settled in, and so settled we into our ways, and with those ways did we settle for this emptying of history, for this sternum rent in two, for this conscience as quiet as the snap of a wishbone sucked white. Whew.
Well, thank you for that reading. The sound work in that is amazing. Settlers, settling, furs, all the words just sort of seamlessly flow together. Sternum rented too. Wow, there's so much going on, so much rupture happening. Our last reading is going to, I'm switching hats here, is going to be by me. I'm going to read a poem from Salma Sharif's latest collection, Customs, which I cannot recommend enough. I encourage you to get it at the library, order the book, however you want to experience it, but it is amazing. This poem is called Planetarium. Sign reading, choose life. Sign reading, solve the water crisis. Sign reading, warning, unexploded shells. Sign reading, date shakes, which does not mean, as we guess, shaking the palm trees until the dates fall, but what comes out of a blender. We are like aliens, we say, and can you believe our luck when out to watch the stars, the Joshua Tree dark, interrupted by a boom that is not thunder, a flash that is not lightning from over the low nearby mountain, but it is of course the Air Force Base running tests or training, or regardless, I wanted to write about stars for once, and looking at them thought, my God, thought, this is just like a planetarium, thought of the glow in the dark stars I stuck all over my bedroom when between the explosions, it was dark enough. Yeah, I read that poem, was just enamored with it, can't stop thinking about it this week. So I wanted to share that. But cool. So now I'm excited to introduce Allison Blevins, and I'm just going to read her bio, and then we're going to hear some wonderful poems from Allison. So Allison Blevins is the author of the poetry collection Slowly Suddenly from Vegetarian Alcoholic Press. Her collections Handbook for the Newly Disabled, a lyric memoir, and Cataloging Pain, a finalist for the Panamint River Prize, are both forthcoming. She is the author of the chapbooks Susurration, Letters to Joan, and A Season for Speaking, part of the Robin Becker series. Chorus for Kill, her collaborative chapbook, is forthcoming in 2022 as well. Allison serves as the director of Small Harbor Publishing, as the executive editor at the Museum of Americana. She lives in Missouri with her partner and her 3 children, where she co-organizes the Downtown Poetry Reading Series. And you can find more information about Allison on her website, allisonblevins.com. We're incredibly happy to have Allison here with us. And we're excited to learn that she'll be at the Fayetteville Library as an artist in residence this summer. So for all the local folks, that's another wonderful opportunity to engage with and experience Allison's work. But yeah, here is Allison Blevins.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming, and thank you for having me. It's been wonderful. We did a workshop earlier, but just to kind of spend the day with all of you. And I want to echo again that the level of commitment to accessibility has just been amazing to witness. And I've really, I think, gotten a lesson myself in all of the things that I should be doing. And I'm just very impressed. So image description, I am a white woman with shoulder length brown hair and gray shirt. You can't see it, but it's my Nope shirt. It's my favorite shirt to wear to the doctor and today too, a reading. I'm going to start with some poems from this collection, Slowly Suddenly, and it came out last year. I'm going to start with the poems Season 4, Episode 11, Delivering Baby Mason. And if you were at the workshop, you heard it. So you'll get to hear it again. When I was pregnant with, or when I had delivered my youngest daughter, I experienced some postpartum depression. And I spent a lot of time sitting on the sofa breastfeeding, and I realized that at all times of the day or night on any channel, it seemed like Keeping Up with the Kardashians was on. And it became just this way of, like watching them. And I felt like they were watching me. And I started to see myself in a different light in that way. And I was already obsessed with ekphrasis. And so I started writing a whole series of these Keeping Up with the Kardashian poems. This one also has an epigraph after Gino Severini's Woman and Child, which is a painting that you can check out if you would like to. If you are not a Keeping Up with the Kardashians fan, which people don't seem to be, which is shocking to me, this is an episode where Courtney gives birth to her first child, and she actually pulls the baby from her own body, and you'll see that in this poem. I'm watching a woman pull her own child from her body. I can't believe he's all mine. Woman folds and folds into squares, and to herself disappears. I am a kitchen yellowed tile, bacon, butter, and splatter. I am stink and vinegar sting. Woman pulls her own child from her body. Woman on a luxury car, on the back of a motorcycle, pruning in the yard or tub, folding. I am a chair. I am leaking petals and leaves from my breast. I once slept in a motel, door cracked open to the outside, chain pulled tight. From the bed, stars glinted through a still creased curtain, accidentally left open by an elbow or shoe. On the street, on a payphone, a passerby stared. Her hair and skirt pocket familiar. She became flowers, then me, then child, and I am watching her watching me. I am watching a woman pull her own child from her body. We are folding into her. She watches the child at my breast from the screen, from the street, from 2 towns over, my own mother, lips rosed and eyes sharp, turns to look. On a patch of brown, folding to green, surrounded by naked ladies, austere and leafless and foreboding, as though the future had been seen and spoken, woman and child, woman and child, woman and child. The naked ladies aren't actually naked ladies. There are those flowers that you see. It's a type of lily that comes up in usually to signal to folks that it's time to go back to school, but they're pink and there's no leaves on them. Just the pink flower. When I was pregnant with my youngest child, I had previous to becoming pregnant been diagnosed with secondary infertility, which is a diagnosis of infertility after already having a child. And my partner and I used reciprocal IVF to get pregnant, and we used my spouse's eggs to get pregnant. And I was already struggling with the loss I had felt of the infertility diagnosis. And then I was sort of dealing with the reality of being both a pregnant person and an infertile person at the same time. Those two things seemed difficult to reconcile, especially compounded with all the pregnancy hormones. And one of the ways that I sort of thought my way through this for some reason was through the Bible. And I became obsessed with the women in the Bible who didn't have any speaking parts and often weren't named. And it seemed to sort of replicate the experience that I was having. This poem is titled The Wordless, the Unspoken, and Unnamed. At 6 months pregnant, The limits of language make me cry over every sound. All the lowing cellos, sounds strung up on laundry lines, displayed like underwear flapping itself crisp and unopening. How the bow moves like wind across strings, every tinny brass beaten so I'm missing words to explain how every sound feels, how it feels to grow another woman inside me, how to explain God, mostly that, and the child with my hair and eyes I'll never someday have. How can sadness mean all this? The words, nameless as the water drawers, the damsels, the 10 concubines of David, all the unworded women, unmouthed and untongued mothers and daughters. Some word must exist to give language to all the women who exist only in the sigh and struggle, the shuffle on of boots and lingering lines, all those lost to silence. Just a content warning that there is definitely some sexual assault and trauma stuff ahead. How to come of age. Rather than let blood from labia, inner arm or thigh, ritual separation of skin, let me become plainly as a story, a girl and a man. This story has never been told. This story is told every day. Woman knows the story as memory, doubts all the years between, doubts the granite beneath her fingers, the child tugging at her hem. Woman remembers the man's hand, how his fingers and palm formed a bowl he poured her still hairless body into. His body was warm beneath her and around her. Woman remembers the shape of her brother lost in the glow of a screen before them. Her mouth is screaming, her mouth never opens, her mouth doesn't even breathe. This is the scream all women learn, the sound only we hear, only in remembering, only after years have changed warmth and flesh, whisper and beat to piercing silence. Only women can hear this pulse. The child in this story learned the wordless scream in the man's basement on the man's lap. I can't look at my daughters without feeling his hand move between my legs. This poem was written during a Joy Harjo reading. And there's two, and you'll be able to tell, I think there are two voices in it. It's sort of a call response poem. Doorway of the Mother. A mother on fire sits up and smiles through the flames. I will be with you wherever I go. A mother under the knife cups nothing in her hands. You are made of me. You are dawn and wind and dirt climbing free from the earth. You are made of me. A mother squeezes the arms tight, too tight. In it, please just be quiet for a minute. A mother unfolding her hands clenches her teeth. Some muscle in her body must be tight as horses running. This is my mouth. This is my brow. These are my fingers, crooked and ugly at the first knuckles. A mother tells a stranger that this is not her child.
think we lost Allison. We'll just wait to see if she's able to reconnect. Thanks everybody for your patience. All right, there she is. Yeah, the internet is reacting to the time change, I think.
Hello.
Hi, you're back.
So sorry. I'm not sure what happened. All right. Where did you lose me, everyone?
If you want to just start the poem over, I think it was pretty, yeah.
You've pretty much gone the whole time.
We were kind of spotty there for a minute anyway. So yeah.
Oh no. All right. All right. Doorway of the mother. A mother on fire sits up and smiles through the flames. I will be with you wherever I go. A mother under the knife cups nothing in her hands. You are made of me. You are dawn and wind and dirt climbing free from the earth. You are made of me. A mother squeezes the arms tight, too tight. I need a minute. Please just be quiet for a minute. A mother unfolding her hands clenches her teeth. Some muscle in her body must be tight as horses running. This is my mouth. This is my brow. These are my fingers crooked and ugly at the first knuckles. A mother tells a stranger that this is not her child. Some are bound to never know where they are going. You are bluer than the moon. You are bluer than the river. You are the best I have ever done. A mother dances, stomps. A mother dances like a saxophone taps. I carry your heart. I've eaten your heart. I've eaten myself eating your heart. Don't worry. I gather your tears and eat those too. A mother was a child once without love. She calls the earth a person. In the beginning, no one needed to be told how to become a person. I cannot undress our ending, soften the panic of loss. If you stand as evening and forgiveness of the day, it's like that. It's like that, child. I am going to read a couple of poems from my forthcoming collaborative chat book. It's titled Chorus for the Kill, and it releases on March 17th, so very soon. And I wrote this book with my writing partner, dear friend and poet Josh Davis. The epigraph for this poem is after Laura Lee Washburn, and she was our teacher in our master's program where we met, and the poem is inspired by a poem of hers. We Technicolor women. We never leave the house without our curls, sheathed in foulard, chiffon, silk, and sunglasses like armor, dull eye round. Our lips, rather redder than harlots, kiss only napkins. We undress in silhouette. We phone each other, Josh and Allison, cord pulled across a diagonal split screen. We drink tepid dinner coffee. Outside the windows, each sunset throbs apocalyptically. We wash our hair off screen in the sink, our towels pillowy, pomegranate plum. For one unrelenting shot, we stare. our limestone painted faces, hear the violins wince as we fasten ourselves into satin bluer than our bruises. The poems in this chapbook are about queer experience, so it deals a lot with violence. And you'll hear two distinct voices in this one, more so than a lot of the other poems in the chapbook. Game to be played with jump rope and chalk. Snail shell, pinwheel, firecracker, lullaby. When I was 7, my dad explained he had AIDS. I asked if he would die. Snail shell, spider web, bottle ship, zoom. When I was 8, he explained spinal meningitis. My grandparents whispered, my aunt stared hard. Snail shell, blackbird, firecracker, boom. When I was 7, the man my parents paid to watch me put his hands down my pants. Snail shell, turtle dove, lullaby, zoom. When I was 20, I bumped into him in the grocery store aisle, cookies and crackers. Snail shell, firecracker, boom, boom. When I was 9, a Drano bomb exploded our yard. I told you not to tell. I told you not to tell. Snail shell, snail shell, snail shell, boom. When I was 16, I let men explode inside me. Mayhem now blooms black, red, and swirling from my body. That's the first time I've read poems from that book aloud. I think it was, it gave me a little tongue tie. This is the last poem I'm going to read. This poem is from my book, Handbook for the Newly Disabled. It releases on April 15th. The book is a lyric memoir, and it explores the aftermath of my diagnosis with MS. Brain fog. 1. Put the towel in the watermelon. Watermelon. I have to papa the laundry. Banana peel in the junk drawer, milk carton with the coffee mugs, eyeglasses in the hamper. I want to explain. Best to stay silent. In the car, my mouth will speak any word my eyes read on a billboard or a street sign. Honey, I love insurance. 2. Brain can't say where pain lives. Mouth points to the leg, hears lightning, says cold, smells a horse trample across hips, hilling landscape, down legs curling back. Finger knows sadness, walks pills down the esophagus, swears at the children. Hold tight to your own speaking, your unattainable future. 3. I tell my husband my face has gone yellow. You aren't yellow. Don't try to imagine numb, color, dizzy. My face has gone yellow, not dimmed, but switched, yellow fat. I once knew so many words and most of the orders. If you could see the color I slug through now, singing gray mud and brown lung air, to find each one, you'd stop looking at me like that. 4. Silence breaks in my ears an hour after a pill, like the silence of our bed when my husband puts our baby down for the night. She was supposed to love me best. I know now that the first dull prickle footstep I ever took was my child wafting like scarves between my slow fingers. The pills make me shiver. My ears fall to the ground, sprout green from invisible seeds. 5. I was never taught how to wake with blue legs, smile through medicine skin. I'll never ride a bike again, hike, carry my children. I'm learning to number what I've lost. Because of the pills, I no longer fall into sleep, I stop. I used to hate queer at 19 when I was a dyke. I can't be disabled. I need a better word. I need a body that floats, translucent and liquid, to my daughter's bed to cover her like cotton red quilted stars. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Allison, for your reading and for being here with us this evening. I love ending on that piece in particular, just because disability has been a big part of the conversation today, and because I think it's just like really wonderful to like look at how like at I don't know, like how we can move into these like different ways of thinking about everything, you know, our own bodies, our poetics, you know, the spaces we inhabit and like how we build spaces. So thank you for doing that. And thank you for doing that with language throughout all of the pieces you read tonight. That's really kind of like where we end up, just being thankful. And thanks, of course, to all of our opening readers for sharing with us tonight. Really grateful to have, I feel like this particular like group of poets, there's just like so much coming together work there. And yeah, just a million thanks. Thanks, of course, to Wes for doing this wonderful work. And for yeah, just feeling really grateful. I feel like I'm having my own brain fog right now. I'm like just lost in the world of the poems. I want to encourage everybody to, Gwen has posted a link to buy Allison's books in the chat. I want to encourage everybody to please buy Allison's books if you can. And if you can't, request your local library to stock them. And then also there's links in there to subscribe to our newsletter or to sign up to be a supporter on our Patreon. We'd also love to have feedback from you about any of our access services if you used them. I'm going to stop my rambling and pitches now and just end once again with the gratitude. Allison, it's been so lovely to get to spend today with you, and we're really grateful for your presence.